Hello, friends, and welcome to Pathologic Volume 7, Episode 1. First off, a big thank you to everyone who contributed puzzles for Volume 6. It was great fun seeing what you put together, and the window is still open and will be for the foreseeable future. Please submit puzzles if you have them for me to solve. You can do that over on the Discord, and in a future volume, I'll be tackling another set of your puzzles. So we will look forward to that. But in the meantime, we are jumping back into the Genuinely Approachable Pencil Puzzles series that we have been mostly focusing on. And in this volume, we're going to see some puzzles we've seen before, but with variants. We're going to see some supersized puzzles, of course, and we're going to see some brand new types. And the first one is one of those brand new types. It is called a graffiti puzzle, which is not familiar to me, but it looks a little bit like maybe a nonogram style thing. So we'll discover that together as we take a look at the rules. In graffiti, we will shade some cells and draw a non-intersecting loop through the centers of all the remaining empty cells. So we've got kind of a combination of a shading puzzle and a loop drawing puzzle here, where we are going to shade in some cells in the grid and fill the whole rest with a loop, simple loop style, going through the centers of all the cells, horizontally and vertically, not diagonally. Clues outside the grid represent the lengths of the blocks of consecutive shaded cells in the corresponding row or column in order. So that is a nonogram style clue, meaning that this 3-1 is saying there will be a stretch of 3 shaded cells in that column, and then 1 or more unshaded cells, and then 1 shaded cell. And you can see that right here. The shaded cells don't have to start on the edge, of course. Here's an example. This 2 says there is a run of 2 shaded cells, and that's all we're going to have in that row. We have some rows and columns I see that don't have any numbers in them at all, and that is not the same as a 0. That is just saying that we don't know anything about the shadedness of that row or column. A question mark clue represents an unknown, non-zero length of consecutive shaded cells. So our example doesn't show that, but that's saying that if this were, instead of 3-1, were question mark 1, this would be a potentially valid solution for that. A question mark can't be 0, but it is some stretch of shaded cells. Those are the rules of graffiti, so it's time to solve a puzzle. Today's graffiti puzzle was set by Shye. I think we should start probably with the way I would solve a nonogram puzzle, which is to look for big numbers, especially promising are numbers that are large enough that they're at least half the size of the grid. And I see we're working with a 9x9 grid. So this 6 clue there's going to be a span of 6 cells somewhere in this row, and no matter how we distribute those 6 cells, they're going to cover the middle 3 for sure, and then spread some more. The 1-6 is even better. If we try to cram that all the way to the right, we would have 6 cells ending right here, and then a break of at least 1, and then another shaded cell. So we only have 1 degree of freedom. We could, if we push this all the way to the left, we'd have 1, and then a break, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So no matter what we do, these 5 are going to be covered by that 6 clue. And that has completed our 2 clues, so none of these are going to be shaded. 1-5 is nearly as good. 1 space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the northernmost that could be. The southernmost would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So no matter what, these are all part of the 5. And we might need to start thinking about the other side of the rules here. So anything that's not shaded has to be part of a loop. And what that means is that this cell must be shaded. And I believe that to be true because if it were unshaded, the loop has to enter, and there will be no way to exit. It's a dead end. So this can't be part of the loop. So it must be shaded. That gives us the 6 we need. And the 1 can't go here because if it did, it would create another dead end, which would be the same situation we have here. The loop would have to enter and couldn't leave. So this isn't shaded. This must be the 1, and we've taken care of the 1, 6. I'm going to mark them that way to show that they're done. I'll do that with the 2 as well. So the loop does enter here, and I guess I'll switch over and mark that part of the loop in, because it does enter those cells. And as soon as we do that, we see 2 more cells that must be part of the loop, so can't be shaded. So those are not shaded. That tells us what the 6 does. So we've finished that row. We finished this 1 as well, but not the 5. The 4 is now known to contain this cell, no matter how we stick 4 cells in this stretch. That's nice, I suppose. Let's think a little bit more about the loop. Okay, this cell we know isn't shaded, so the loop must enter and exit on the only 2 sides that are available, which means that this over here is not shaded. The line has to keep on going down. And all right, if this 3 were these 3 cells, the loop would be in trouble because this would come over this way and close off the loop before we've seen the rest of the grid. So the 3 is not these 3, and therefore it's none of those 3, because that's the only disposition that could have worked on this side. So the 3 is over here, and necessarily including this cell. We know from this cell being unshaded that the loop enters and exits there. And can't go north, because if it did, again, we'd close the loop early. So it doesn't go north, so nothing's going to enter this one. So that's actually our shaded cell, and that's the 1 that we needed in this row. It's also the 1 that we need in this column. That tells us, oh, well, we've also taken care of the 5. We know how that goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. That is the entirety of the question mark clues here and here. We know those are accounted for by this first stretch. The 4 we know contains at least these cells, which is going to be the 1 that we need in both of these rows. And we can draw the loop going through this tunnel right through here, and it's got to go somewhere, so it's going to go east. And that means that this is not shaded, which in turn means we know where the 4th cell of this 4 goes. And that the line continues up here. This cell has to be entered and exited, and there's only one way to do that now. Same thing here now. Same thing here. And that gives me another unshaded cell. Okay, what about these clues? The question marks are done. And this one, since we've done the question mark, is the 2, so we know it extends down here. The 2 is done. Okay, we can say that this cell gets entered and exited, so we can draw that part of the line in. And so that's not shaded, which forces the 3 to the left a little bit. We have a tunnel we have to get through of unshaded cells that only have one option. So that goes like that. This becomes a dead end, so that must be shaded. And we've done our 3 in this row. This cell, we've got to enter and exit, making that unshaded. And we have to do something with this clue and that clue in order to disambiguate the bottom part, because the loop has some options. For example, this could keep going or it could turn right. So I think this is going to be the key. We still have to fit a run of 2 and a run of 1. We've done the question mark. And how is that going to do? There's only one way to make that fit. 2 and 1. And that takes care of that column. It also takes care of the last one that we needed in this row. So these are all unshaded. The 2 that we need in this row can't be here. It must be here, and it must include this cell, no matter how we do that. So finally, let's go back to, well, I say finally, but we're nearing the end clearly. Let's move back to our loop and see what happens now. So this has to turn, and it's got to keep on going down here. We have a tunnel we've got to go through, so the loop doesn't enter here. So we can shade this one, we can unshade these. And that tells us what happens with the 2 clue. It goes over this direction. And the 1 clue we can also do because there's only one cell left where we can put that 1. And the loop can't enter down here because it would get stranded. So both of those must be shaded. And the loop has to go up this way. It has to go up this way. It has to enter and leave this cell here. This is another corner. Enter and leave that one. We unshade this cell we entered. This one has become a dead end, so that's got to be shaded, meaning that this is going to turn south this way. And all we have to do is connect these up. And that is how we solve a graffiti.